Hi everyone, I missed you and it's gonna be really fun to talk about this topic. People are very surprised that I live in Sweden, and I do understand. Most Sikhs live in like America, UK, Canada, not very much in Sweden. I think we might be like maybe 1,000 families here in Sweden. I'm not sure, but we're not a lot. How did I end up in Sweden? And it's actually not a fun story because I was born and raised here in Stockholm, Sweden. Actually in this city, Tumba, right here, my whole life, 29 years, almost 30. So that's not a fun story, but what's fun, however, is how my dad and my tayaji, which is my uncle, my dad's older brother, how they ended up in Sweden. That's much more interesting. So my tayaji was actually working on a boat in Greece, and I'm not sure how he ended up in Greece. That's a whole other story. However, he was working in a ship in Greece that went to like Crete. They went to, I think it was Giodana, small little island. I've been there. Malta. He and his friend came to Sweden with that ship, and then they were like, damn, this place is nice. So basically, long story short, they got off that ship and decided to stay here, and they did. It's probably much more to it, like how they did it, where they stayed, and this and that, but I'm gonna keep that story short. And so my tayaji came here first, and he went around this place in Södertälje, which is I think like 20 minutes from here. And then he just called my dad and was like, what's up? What you doing? And he was like, oh, my dad was also going around Europe. He's been to Middle East, basically all over the place. He picked up the phone and was like, yo, what's up? Was it phone back then? Or was it like, I don't know if it was letter or if it was phone. However, my tayaji was like, yo bro, it's awesome here in Sweden. And dad was like, let's go. So dad came here, started working, same job as his brother, and they started to make a living. And dad made some trips back and forth from India, but eventually decided to stay here in Sweden. One of the trips when he went back to India, he married my mom. And then in 1984, my mom came to Sweden. And yeah, that's basically how I ended up in Sweden with my 3 siblings. And the rest of the family, we're huge here. I have so many cousins and everything. So now the question, how is it living in Sweden? That's something that I do know. Oh, that was my phone. That's something that I do know, however, and I would say it's not really much of a difference from the rest of the Europe. I mean, you know, we have, what do you call it? EU country? It's an EU country, yeah, so you can basically travel wherever you want in Europe without a passport even. So you just need your, or maybe you need your passport nowadays. But most of the country, you can just go with your ID card if you're a Swedish citizen, but bring your passport, you never know. So you can go all over Europe, and I've been like Italy, France, Spain, Greece, so it's all pretty much the same. The main difference I would say is the living conditions, like, you know, your politics and stuff like that, which I'm not really gonna go into in this video. But you will know, for example, my wife is from Denmark, and we're gonna talk to her, and she's gonna explain the difference between Denmark and Sweden.
I have been living in Sweden for a year, more than a year now. I have noticed that the biggest difference between Sweden and Denmark, it's very dark in the winter here, more than Denmark. I thought Denmark was dark during winter, but Sweden are worse. And for the people, I would say I feel like the Swedish people are more kind. Not that Danish people are not kind, I'm not saying that, but they're more open here. Like if you walk down the street, like a lot of people are gonna be like, hey, tjena. And you don't see that in Denmark. If you even say hi to someone in Denmark, you mostly get like a weird look and then like a very awkward hi. I would say the people, there's a difference, but I feel like I'm hearing the opposite from people who live in Sweden, and they feel like Danish people are much nicer than Swedish people. So I don't know, it's confusing. Too bad thing about Sweden is right now that it's much darker than Denmark compared to Denmark, which I already mentioned. I'm really geek about it. Like I can see it on my Apple Watch, and when it says that the sun goes down like 3:30, it's very sad, and I can't like no. It's yeah. I like how Sweden is like the landscape. It's very different, like from southern Sweden and North Sweden and Middle Sweden, like very diverse nature-wise. And I actually like Swedish as the language. Like I don't know if you have heard someone talk Swedish. Like they sing compared to Danish, where we sound like we are getting mad at people for no reason all the time. So yeah, that's my take on how Sweden is. I have been living here for 1 year and more now, so I love it. I don't know what else to say. So bye.
I'm actually very, very happy that my Cha&Chill chose Sweden. I do understand what he saw when he came here, I think in 70 something. Yeah, Sweden is a very, very nice place. It's a great place to have a family, to grow up, because Sweden overall is very helpful to grow a family. Like the healthcare is free, the school is free up to gymnasium, and you even get paid to go to school. It's not like a full salary, but at least it's something. And I remember like in gymnasium, which is, I think it's like high school, I think, in American style. It was great to have that kind of money, especially when you lived at home and then you had money to spend and to do something with it, which was awesome. So that's great about Sweden. I don't think anyone can argue about the living standards. I would say mostly Sweden is middle class. It's really hard to get super rich because of the more money you earn, the more taxes you will have to pay. But basically what I would say, like if you want to live a normal life, have a good income to be able to have a roof off your head and still to be able to spend money and do whatever you like, you can do that in Sweden without any problem. And just because education is free, you can educate yourself to become a lawyer. Of course, if you have good grades and this and that, or otherwise you won't be able to get into that school. But at least it's much, much easier than other countries where you have to pay thousands of dollars and to get into school, and then you're not even sure you're gonna get a job and this and that, and you all know the story. Sweden is great when it comes to that. What you need to understand is everyone will have their own opinion about Sweden. Some people will talk about how bad it is, and some will say that this is the best place to live in the whole world. And I'm leaning against that side. The biggest reason for that has to be my experience. So I've never experienced bullying. I never experienced discrimination towards me or my religion or my faith, and never have I ever felt any racism towards me. Most of that comes to me being very confident. Like I've talked about this in several videos, and I think like most of the time when people feel racism and stuff like that, okay, it can be random, of course. You're walking down the street and someone is yelling something. Never happened to me. But when it comes to, in school and stuff like that, most of the time what I have seen, it come down to your confidence. When I went to school, most of the people didn't know about Sikhi. And here in Sweden, they don't. Like, not a lot of people know what a guy with a turban and beard is. So it came down to me to explain, who am I? Why am I wearing this? Why am I looking the way I am looking? And of course they're gonna have questions. So it's my responsibility to answer their questions and to explain why I look the way I do. And most of the time, maybe every time, people understand. And because it's logical. I mean, I am a Sikh for a reason. It's logical. And I'm proud of the way I look, and I'm proud of my religion, and I'm proud of who I am. And so when I tell that to people with the confidence and with the understanding, people understand, and then there's no more questions. And now I educated someone, and this person will start telling other people about me, and that's how we get recognized. So all I can talk about again, is Sweden. Like I told you, there's a lot of stuff that I like, but of course there's stuff that I don't like. But if you look at the stuff that I like and I don't like, the stuff that I like wins. However, we are gonna talk about the stuff that I don't like. And the biggest thing is probably the winter and the darkness. Most of the time of the year, it is dark. Summertime is great. We have it for like, I don't know, 4 months. Most of that just rains, but the summer we do have is great. We have light until like 11 p.m., which is great. Like the days are so long, everyone is so happy, everyone's outside and doing stuff. It's so much positivity. But the rest of the time is the total opposite. It's very, very dark, and right now the time is actually 4 o'clock, exactly 4 o'clock. And it's starting to get dark, and in an hour it's gonna be complete dark, like pitch black. November right now, and this is gonna be probably until February. So it's very, very hard to live in Sweden, honestly, these couple of months, because everyone is so negative. You know, if you ask them like on a Monday, how are you? They're like, it's Monday. I don't appreciate that. I'm like, come on, man, step up the game, trying to be positive. This happens every year. You should be ready for it. Plan a vacation, whatever. You can come around it, but every year is the same. Other than that, the Swedish people are very negative. They're not very positive about stuff, and when it comes to change, they're not positive. They're like, even if you have a good idea and it's like something that is not like normal, they will be like, so they don't want change, and which is not really that good, because to do something new takes years. Like to come up with an idea, to work with that idea, and to pursue that idea, that takes time. And that's why Sweden is very slow when it comes to stuff. People are very much to themselves. I don't know if you have seen these memes, but they're so true. Like people take distance from other people. They don't want to be close to people, especially out in public. I remember one time I was in the subway, and like in the subways, it's very common to everyone to mind their own business. Like, look at your phone, music, read a book. Like if you're gonna talk to someone, talk very quiet, don't disturb anyone else, and just do your own thing. But one time I was on my way home, and there was an American guy in the train, and he was talking to his friends, and he was like, man, Sweden is so weird. And you know, everyone was like, they weren't looking, but they were listening, and I was one of them. And he was like, it's like a library in the buses, like no one talked to each other. I was like laughing because it's so true. And yeah, so that kind of explains how the Swedish people are. They're like, mind your own business, let me do my thing, and don't talk to me. Okay, wait. Before we go further into this video, I keep saying Swedish people, but that includes me 100%. Like I'm born and raised here in Sweden. I would say I'm 50% Swedish, 50% Punjabi. And all these things, like the Monday example, I've been one of the people that be like, oh, it's Monday, you know? So yeah, back to the video, but I just want you guys to know this. So that is Sweden for you. And I get a bunch of questions of how to move here, how to get work, and how to get visa and stuff like that. I'm not your guy. Like I have no idea. I'm just very lucky that my Taiji chose this place. And I mean, I don't know, honestly. Don't ask me, because I don't know. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe if you aren't already, and I will see you guys in the next one.